Have you ever stared at someone speaking fluent English and thought, how do they do it without translating? Do you ever wonder if your brain is broken? Because even after years of study, you still hesitate, still translate, still don't sound like you want to sound. Maybe it happens when you're watching a movie and you pause every few seconds to catch the meaning, or when you try to speak and the words come slowly, like walking through thick mud with a broken compass. And here's the hardest part. You know the words, you've studied, you've practiced, but your brain refuses to let go of your native language. It's like there's a voice inside saying, it's not safe to let English take over. But what if that voice is wrong? This video is not just about language, it's about liberation, because the moment I finally spoke English, not with translation, not with fear, but with flow, with instinct, was the moment I realized English wasn't a subject anymore. It was a part of me, and the best part, I'm going to show you exactly how that moment happened, step by step, story by story, sentence by sentence. Because when you stop translating, you don't just change the way you speak, you change who you are. Stay with me until the end, because this isn't just a language lesson, it's a mirror, and what you'll see inside might be the version of you that's been waiting to speak all along. There was a moment, a quiet, almost invisible moment, when everything changed. No fireworks, no big announcement, just silence. That kind of silence inside your head that feels strange. He had been speaking with a friend online, just a normal chat about music and movies, but after the call, he paused. Something felt different. Wait, he thought, I didn't translate anything just now. And that silence? It wasn't confusion. It was fluency. It was the first time he didn't run to his native language for help. No mental dictionary flipping pages. No checking if the word really meant truly or actually. Words just came out. Not perfect, not rehearsed, just alive. It was like singing without reading the lyrics. He realized English had stopped being a subject. It had become a voice, his voice. He remembered the first sentence that truly flowed without thinking. I think I just need some time. Such a simple phrase. But it hit him like lightning. He had said it naturally, like breathing, no translation, no stress, no delay. For the first time, English didn't feel like a second skin. It felt like skin. That's when the identity shift began. He was no longer someone learning English. He was someone living in English. It's a subtle but powerful difference. Before he was decoding, now he was expressing. And it made him wonder how much of our identity is hidden behind the languages we never dare to fully embrace. He remembered describing a feeling, sadness, only using English. And it surprised him, not just the vocabulary, but the honesty. He didn't say, I'm sad. He said, it feels like my heart is in a small box. That was real. That was emotion. And it didn't need translation. It just needed truth. But here's the strange part. Losing translation felt like losing control. He had always relied on it, like training wheels on a bike. Now suddenly he was riding without them. Scary, yes, but also freeing. Like standing on a cliff and realizing you have wings. He tried an exercise, speak for 30 seconds without stopping, no matter what. The first time he stumbled, the second time he laughed, the third time it flowed, not because his English was perfect, but because he stopped trying to be perfect. He allowed himself to speak, to be. That was the key, permission. And then came the realization that changed everything. It was never a vocabulary problem. It was never about knowing more words. It was about fear. Fear of letting go. Fear of sounding wrong. Fear of letting English take over. But when he allowed one mistake, just one, everything opened up. He said something wrong, smiled and kept going. And in that moment, he stopped being a student and became a speaker. If you want to stay stuck, keep doing what I did. Seriously. Just treat English like a foreign object, like something outside of you. That's how I lived for years. Every word had to be checked, translated, compared. English wasn't mine. It was a puzzle, a test, and guess what? That belief became my prison. So, if you want to stay there too, just keep saying, English isn't my language. But if you want to change, say this out loud right now. English is mine. Want to block your fluency permanently? Easy. Make grammar your king. Think, I must say it perfectly or not at all. That's what I did. I was terrified of mistakes, so I waited and waited and waited until the words were perfect in my mind. But by the time I opened my mouth, the moment was gone. If this sounds like you, here's your new practice. Express your idea first, then clean it up later. Fluency means flow, not flawless. If you enjoy speaking like a robot, keep aiming for perfection. Measure every sentence, plan every word, doubt every sound. That's the fastest way to become a prisoner of your own mouth. I used to rehearse answers in my head for so long, the conversation would already be over. Want to break that habit? Here's the task. Speak one sentence with intentional imperfection. Let it be messy, let it be human, let it be alive. And if you're someone who loves mental chaos, try this. Think in two languages at the same time. That's what I did. My native language in one ear, English in the other. I was the translator, the speaker, and the overthinker, all in one. It was like juggling fireballs while trying to sing. It doesn't work, so try this instead. Look around you right now and describe one object only in English. Simple, focused, just English. I used to believe that learning more words would solve everything, so I collected vocabulary like coin, but I never spent them. My brain was full, but my mouth was empty. If you're doing that, stop. Start using the words you already know in your real life, even if it's the coffee is hot or my back hurts today. That's where real fluency begins, with real life, not word lists. I also waited for the perfect time to speak. You know, when I felt ready. But here's the truth. That moment never came. What came instead was guilt, regret, and more silence. If you're doing the same, change your rhythm. Speak now. Say something simple out loud, even if you're alone. Especially if you're alone. Fluency doesn't arrive. It's built, moment by moment. And maybe you're still stuck in the same pattern, watching videos, taking notes, but never speaking. That's what I did too. I was a silent expert. I knew the rules, but I didn't own my voice. And that hurt more than I can explain. If that's where you are, start breaking the loop. Pick one emotion today. Tired, happy, frustrated, and describe it in English, out loud. Not perfectly, just honestly. If your dream is to keep translating forever, do nothing, change nothing. Keep telling yourself you're not ready. Keep treating English like an exam. But if you want to break free, do the opposite of everything I just told you. Start speaking like English belongs to you, because it does. And here's the twist. Sometimes it takes one real conversation to switch your brain forever. She wasn't prepared, not even a little. It was just another normal day at work, typing reports, avoiding small talk, listening to conversations like background noise. But then it happened. A co-worker turned to her and asked, "Hey, what do you think about this?" Simple question, nothing dramatic. But for her, it was a trap. Her mind froze. The usual translate then speak system failed. Words wouldn't come. And in that silent panic, something strange happened. She answered anyway. It wasn't planned. It wasn't perfect. It just came out. I think it's not necessary. Short, unpolished, but it was real. Her voice surprised her. She hadn't translated. She hadn't prepared. She had just responded. And for the first time, she saw a glimpse of something she didn't know was possible. Natural fluency. It didn't feel like grammar. It felt like instinct. Like breathing in a new language. Without permission. That moment rewired her. It wasn't about knowing the right vocabulary. It was about trusting her mouth more than her mind. Before, she thought she had to mentally build every sentence, brick by brick. But this time, the words jumped ahead of her fear. No translator, no delay, just flow. And that flow became her new teacher. She realized, pressure doesn't block fluency. It reveals it. From that day on, she trained differently. She stopped studying in silence and started training for speed. Every morning, she practiced fast answers to real questions, like, "Are you free tomorrow?" "Not really, but maybe in the evening," or "Do you like your job?" "It depends on the coffee." She focused on reaction, not perfection, and something magical started to happen. Her hesitation shrank. She began to use shadowing exercises with real emotion. She didn't just repeat phrases like a robot. She copied the tone, the pauses, the rhythm of native speakers. She whispered answers in the kitchen. She spoke out loud in the shower. She practiced short phrases until they became part of her. "I'm not sure. Maybe later. I get what you mean." And each one felt less foreign, more hers. Then one day, during lunch, a colleague laughed and said, "You speak so naturally now." She smiled, not because she was fluent, but because she knew what that comment really meant. Her translation brain had finally been replaced by her English voice. She had stopped learning the language and started living in it. She didn't go back. She couldn't. After tasting the freedom of spontaneous speech, the old way felt unnatural. She wasn't thinking of verbs anymore. She was thinking of ideas, and those ideas didn't need permission from her native language. They were born in English, raw and real. That was her new identity, not perfect, but present. If you asked her today what changed everything, she wouldn't say study. She'd say pressure. One unexpected question that her brain wasn't ready for, but her voice was. And now she waits for those moments, because she knows real growth doesn't come when you're ready. It comes when you're cornered and you finally speak anyway. But what if the problem isn't your speaking, but your brain's survival system itself? Most learners think they translate because they're bad at English, but that's not true. Translation is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of survival. You translate because your brain is trying to protect you from embarrassment, from confusion, from making a mistake. It's a safety reflex, like putting your hands up when something flies at your face. You don't think, you just react. Here's the truth, your brain doesn't want fluency, it wants safety, and translation feels safe, familiar, comfortable. But that safety comes at a price. Delay, fear, hesitation. Your mind creates this invisible wall between what you know and what you say. So even when the words are there, your voice doesn't trust them. You pause, you think, you freeze. Not because you're slow, but because your brain is overprotective. Let's talk about working memory. You have a limited space in your brain for now. If you try to think in two languages at once, that space fills up fast. It's like opening 20 tabs on your computer, then wondering why it crashes. That's what happens when you translate mid-conversation. Your brain is trying to do too much at once, and fluency, my friend, cannot survive in overload. Try this practice. Look around you and describe what you see only in English. Don't reach for the translation. Just name things, even simple ones. A black chair, a coffee mug, the window is open. This forces your brain to build a direct connection from perception to expression in English. It's like rewiring the circuit so the electricity flows straight, not in loops. Now let's talk about fear. Your brain predicts that if you speak too fast, you'll make mistakes. So what does it do? It slows you down. It inserts doubt. That's called a prediction error loop. Your brain is literally trying to avoid embarrassment before it even happens, but that system only changes when you push through, when you speak faster than your fear wants you to. Here's your task. Say one sentence out loud before you're ready. Yes, before the grammar is perfect, before the words are complete. Say it fast, even if it feels risky. For example, Wait. Maybe I will go later, I don't know, but that messy sentence is a victory because it's raw, it's real, and most importantly, it's yours. Eventually, something shifts. Fluency doesn't come when you know enough. It comes when English becomes automatic, like a reflex, like blinking. You stop analyzing, you stop translating, and your mind accepts a new truth. This language is part of who I am now. That's what we call the neural shift. It's invisible, but it changes everything. Want to trigger that shift? Create a 2-minute ritual every day. Speak out loud. Don't stop. No corrections, just flow. Describe your morning. Tell an imaginary story. Complain about your day. Doesn't matter what. What matters is that your mouth and brain move together without permission from your native language. That's how you stop surviving and start becoming fluent. But something deeper happens when English stops being just practical and becomes personal. Did you enjoy the content and it made a difference for you? Click on Super Thanks and support our work. There comes a quiet moment in every learner's journey when English is no longer something they study, but something they feel. For years, she saw English as a school subject, a test, a pass or fail experience. But one night, something changed. She was journaling in English, not because she had to, but because that was the language her emotions chose. That night she realized English wasn't in her notebook anymore. It was in her identity. You don't truly speak a language until it becomes the voice in your mind. Not your exam voice, not your teacher's voice, your voice. Think about it. What language do you use when you're talking to yourself? When you're sad? When you're excited? If it's still your native language, English hasn't entered your inner world yet, but the moment you describe your own thoughts in English, something opens. A new version of you begins to form. Here's a practice. Say a sentence that defines who you are, but in English, something real. I am someone who loves quietly. I'm tired of hiding my voice. Don't just say what's grammatically correct. Say what's emotionally true. That's how fluency moves from the mouth into the soul. And here's something we rarely talk about. Imperfection is the doorway. If you wait until you can express yourself perfectly, you'll stay silent forever. But when you speak from the heart, even if your words are broken, people feel you. Your English becomes human. So go ahead, say one messy, emotional sentence today. Say it with pride, because courage sounds much more powerful than correctness. Over time, you'll notice something strange. You'll begin to think in English without choosing to. You'll wake up and hear your thoughts in short phrases. Let's go. It's late. I'm tired. It will feel weird at first, almost like your brain is cheating on your native language. But it's not betrayal. It's expansion. Your mind is adapting, growing, reprogramming. And then comes the most beautiful shift, emotional integration. You stop translating, not because you're more skilled, but because your feelings now speak English. When you're upset, the words come in English. When you feel joy, you smile and say, "That felt good." These moments are sacred because they're proof that English is no longer foreign, it's family. Once this happens, going back feels impossible. Translating becomes slow, unnatural. Your brain now chooses English as the faster path. It's not about impressing anyone. It's about feeling aligned, like your thoughts, your language, and your truth are finally on the same frequency. That's fluency, not the number of words you know, but the depth of connection. Try this simple daily application. Narrate your actions in English. I'm making tea. I feel tired, but I have work. I need to take a break. This tiny ritual is powerful. It rewires your thinking from passive translation to active creation. It's not study time, it's identity time. And once English becomes the language of your experience, a new question arises. What's happening in your brain when this shift occurs? There's a moment, invisible to the outside world, when your brain makes a decision. It's not loud, it doesn't announce itself, but something shifts. A new neural path becomes stronger than the old one. And in that moment, English stops being something you remember and becomes something you are. Neuroscience calls it the language dominance switch. But to you, it just feels like ease, like freedom. Your brain is a prediction machine. It doesn't wait to be told. It guesses what comes next based on patterns. So if you repeat English sentences often, the brain starts seeing them as normal, not foreign, not difficult, just familiar. That's why repetition isn't boring, it's rewiring. Choose one phrase, repeat it 20 times, say it with rhythm. I'm getting better every day. Again, 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 until your brain stops asking for permission. And here's something most learners never hear. Fluency is not logic, it's rhythm. When you translate, you break the rhythm, you interrupt the song. But when you shadow native speech, copying the tone, the flow, the pauses, you enter the music of the language. You stop thinking word by word. You start thinking sound by sound. That's fluency. That's speech as instinct. Try this. Find a 10-second audio clip. A scene from a movie, a podcast, a TED Talk, listen. Then immediately speak over it. Not after, not slowly. In real time, your brain will feel confused at first. That's good. That's the moment learning gets deep, because confusion is the beginning of connection. Now let's talk about something magical. Semantic priming. It means your brain starts linking ideas directly to English, without needing your native language. You hear rain and you feel the cold, the grey, the smell of wet streets. Not a translation, a concept, a feeling. That's when English becomes part of your thought palette. You're no longer remembering words, you're painting with them. Here's a small daily action. Stop learning words in isolation. Instead, learn them in context. Don't study freedom. Hear it in a sentence. He felt freedom for the first time in years. Now feel it. Now speak it. Vocabulary without emotion is dust. Vocabulary with context is memory. And then comes the part nobody talks about, the 30-day immersion loop. You don't need to live in London or New York. You just need input and output every day. Listen, then speak. Watch, then retell. Hear, then react. 5 minutes is enough if you do it every day. The goal is not perfection. The goal is rewiring. The brain rewards what is repeated. You see, the mind doesn't care about your accent. It doesn't care if you sound native. It cares about speed, rhythm, and emotion. So when English becomes the fastest road to meaning, your brain switches paths. Not because you forced it, but because it finally feels easier. And when that happens, something beautiful is born. The version of you who doesn't speak English, they think in it. And the world begins to respond to that version differently. At first, the change is invisible, but if you look closely, you'll see it in their eyes. They stop looking up at the ceiling when searching for words. They stop freezing in the middle of a sentence. Instead, they hold your gaze, steady, calm, present. That's what happens when someone stops translating. They don't just speak differently, they become different. More grounded, more sure, more here. And their posture changes too, not dramatically, just enough to notice. They stop folding in, they stand taller. Their shoulders open slightly, their chest lifts. It's not pride, it's presence. When someone thinks in English, really lives in it, their body starts reflecting the confidence their voice has discovered. Try this. The next time you speak in English, stand up. Speak while moving, you'll feel it, the shift from stuck to flowing. And people notice. They don't always understand what changed, but they feel it. You sound more fluent. You seem more confident. But the truth is deeper. You're not just speaking better. You're showing up differently. You're more real. Because when English is no longer filtered through fear, your real personality finally has room to breathe. Here's a powerful practice. Start one English conversation this week, no matter how small. It could be with a classmate, a co-worker, a stranger online. Your goal is not to be perfect. Your goal is to experience your new identity, the one who doesn't apologize for speaking, the one who doesn't hide behind translation. That version of you needs to speak, even if it's just for 2 minutes. You'll also notice something strange. The more you live in English, the more life begins to respond to you. Suddenly, you find content that speaks directly to your heart. In English, you meet people you would have never met in your native language. You feel seen in conversations that never would have happened if you were still hesitating. English becomes a bridge, not just to fluency, but to a new world. Even your thoughts begin to sound more decisive. Not just, I don't know, or maybe, but full sentences. Even in private. I want this. I'm not okay with that. It's like the version of you who always lived in silence is now learning how to speak with clarity, with rhythm, with courage. That's why this journey is about becoming, not just speaking. Try this simple act. Speak in English while looking in the mirror, but this time not to practice, to witness yourself. Look into your own eyes, say, "This is me, speaking my truth in my new voice." That sentence, if spoken with sincerity, will begin rewiring more than just your fluency. It will start rewriting your identity, because the truth is, when you stop translating, the world doesn't just hear your English, it hears you, the real you, the unfiltered you, and that person, the one you've kept locked away behind fear, perfection, hesitation, that person finally steps forward. But here's the most beautiful part. You didn't find them. You built them, sentence by sentence, day by day. And the final shift begins when you ask the question that changed everything. Why was I translating all the time? He asked himself quietly one night, staring at the ceiling in the dark. Why couldn't I just speak? The answer wasn't about grammar. It wasn't about vocabulary. It was fear. Fear held the microphone. Fear of sounding stupid. Fear of being judged. Fear of hearing his own voice and not recognizing it. But that night, something shifted. He whispered, "My voice leads now." And he meant it. How did I stop? He wondered. The truth surprised him. It wasn't magic. It wasn't some perfect method. It was a series of tiny choices. He had chosen expression over perfection, chosen to speak before he felt ready, chosen to say, "I don't know," instead of staying silent. Day by day, mistake by mistake, his brain started to believe him. His fluency wasn't born in the classroom. It was built in the uncomfortable moments he didn't run away from. And then came the big question, who am I becoming? He didn't recognize this new voice at first. This person who laughed when they made a grammar mistake. This person who spoke up in meetings. This person who didn't wait for approval. He was becoming someone who thinks in possibilities, not limitations. Someone who doesn't measure progress in tests, but in freedom. Someone who's no longer learning English to pass, but to live. Here's a challenge for you. Declare your future in English. Say it out loud. I'm going to speak fluently. I will use English to change my life. This is not just a language, it's a new beginning. Say it even if your voice shakes. Especially if your voice shakes. Because when you say your future in English, your brain starts building the path to walk toward it. He didn't know it, but his thoughts had changed shape. They no longer came wrapped in translation. They flowed in English, naturally, honestly. His inner dialogue had switched languages, and it didn't ask for permission. It just happened, like a river that stopped fighting gravity, like a mind that stopped hiding behind the safe walls of its native words. And now, every day, he ends with one small ritual. Before sleep, he says one spontaneous English sentence. No pressure, no rules, just truth. Sometimes it's, "I'm tired, but proud." Sometimes, "Today was heavy, but I kept going." Other times, "I'm excited about tomorrow." These little sentences are like bricks, quiet, consistent, and powerful. That's how fluency is built, not in noise, but in rhythm. He realizes now, fluency isn't something you wake up with. It's something you think yourself into. Not once, not fast, but sentence by sentence, day by day. Each time you speak when you're scared. Each time you laugh after a mistake, each time you choose your voice over your fear, those are the moments that build the fluent version of you. And once that version comes alive, there's no going back. Because once your thoughts start to move as fast as your courage, you're not just fluent, you're free. Now, I want to ask you something, and I want you to really think about it. What version of yourself are you feeding every day? The version that keeps translating, hesitating, hiding, or the version that dares to think in English, even if it's slow, even if it's imperfect, even if it's scary? Because fluency isn't about sounding native. It's about sounding like you, without fear. It's about letting your thoughts move freely in a language that can change your life. And it starts with one decision: to stop translating and start trusting your voice. So tell me, When was the last time you truly expressed yourself in English, not just survived a sentence? What's one thought you've never dared to say in English, but could say today? Let's make this personal. Write it in the comments. Speak it to yourself before bed. Whisper it in the mirror, because the more you speak from who you are, the more English becomes who you are becoming. This channel isn't just here to help you speak better. It's here to help you live braver, using English as your vehicle for transformation. If this video spoke to you, subscribe, like, comment, and activate the bell, because your journey is just beginning. And your voice? It's been waiting for this moment.